Okay, chapter 15 is called The Response, and of course, it's referencing Sarah's output to try to track down a star catcher using different forms of social media. It's a little bit longer chapter, but we'll make it through the whole thing. Just when they thought they'd be spending the night under a tree, Aidan realized they were near the home of a friend of his, Matthew Langerham, whose family happened to have a bus-sized camper parked along their house. Matthew once had shown Aidan the tricked-out camper's interior, and Aidan had seen where the key was hidden, behind the rear license plate. They slipped in quietly just after midnight, Aidan taking a bunk bed, Sarah heading back to the master's suite. Tired from miles of running and walking, they both fell asleep almost immediately. Aidan awoke to see daylight streaming through the cracks between the camper curtains. He rose quickly and went back to the master's suite. Sarah, too, had been awakened by the light. She was sitting up and rubbing her eyes. "It's morning. We gotta leave." "In a minute," she said, pulling the iPad from her backpack and turning it on. "Oh, man," she said, "I'm almost out of battery. There's like 10 emails from Mom, and she's really mad." "I bet," said Aidan, peering through the camper curtain. "Oh my gosh," said Sarah, leaning into the iPad. "What?" "Someone answered us." "From Facebook?" "No. They responded to the Craigslist ad. Look." Aidan took the iPad and read the email. "If this is a joke, haha. If it's serious, I'd like to meet you." Aidan looked at the sender's email address, asterjd@gmail.com. "AsterJD," he said. "Aster." "Yeah," said Sarah, taking the iPad out. "Of course, anybody can make a Gmail account." "I know that," said Sarah. "But whoever this is, they responded to us. This is all we have, so we're going to work with it." "This is no joke. We need help. Who are you?" Sarah typed. "Where are you?" Sarah tapped send, and the email was gone. "Can we go now?" said Aidan. "Not yet. I have to answer Mom." "What are you telling her?" "We're still sorry, still safe. Please don't worry, blah, blah, blah." "Hey." "What?" "Aster JD just answered." "What did he say?" "Whoa," she said. "What?" "He's a professor at Princeton." "Princeton? The college?" "It's a university. He's in the physics department." "Where is Princeton? Connecticut?" "Hopefully you might know where Princeton is because you live in the same state as Princeton." "No, idiot. New Jersey," she said, tapping again, then stopped. "My battery's dead." "We have a bigger problem than that." "What? Oh, no." Their father's car was pulling into the Langerhams' driveway. As they watched, the car stopped and their father got out. He disappeared from view and headed towards the front door. "How did he know we're here?" "He must be checking our friends' houses." "We gotta go, now." They left the camper quickly and Aidan locked the door. They ran to the backyard and through several neighborhood yards on a side street, then into a park where they hid for a while. Eventually, Sarah and Aidan worked their way to a main road. "Do we have any idea where we're going?" "There, to the bus stop." "We're going to take a bus?" "Yeah." "Where?" "Downtown to the train station. We're going to Princeton." "Wait, just like that, we're going to get on a train from New Jersey to see a guy we don't know anything about?" "We also need disguises." "What?" "I'm serious. That's what scares me." They boarded the first bus that came along, which, as it turned out, was headed in the wrong direction. But after getting directions and changing the bus twice, they finally made it to the train station, where after consulting with the ticket agent, they bought tickets to Philadelphia, where they would change to a train in Princeton. While they were waiting for the train, they went next door to a drugstore and bought a large quantity of non-nutritious food. At Sarah's insistence, they also bought sunglasses as well as a scarf for her and a baseball hat for him. They tried to stay in well-lit areas of the station. When they boarded the train, Sarah plugged in her iPad into a power outlet and turned it on. She found a new barrage of email from their parents, but she was in no mood to read them, so she powered it off and dozed. Aidan did the same. Neither got much sleep. When they reached Philadelphia, they enjoyed a hearty meal of Krispy Kreme donuts and Coke before boarding the train to Princeton. Sarah again turned on her iPad and with a sigh began plowing through the mass of emails from her parents. Some pleading, some threatening, some hurt, some angry, a lot of them a combination of all these things. She'd been reading for 45 minutes when she sat up straight. "Wake up," she said. "What?" "One of the earlier emails from Mom. I just read it. Get this." She mentions we were at the Langerhams. What? Yeah, Dad got into a big fight with them because he thought they were hiding us, and finally he realized they weren't, and now the Langerhams are mad at Mom and Dad, and Mom is not happy, but why was Dad so sure we'd even been there? Wait a minute. What? That app, he said. What do you call it? It tells you where your iPad is. Find My iPad? Yeah, do you have it turned on? Sarah went pale. Yes. Turn it off. Sarah turned it off, then said, you think that's how... Yup. Dad has your password. They use Find My iPad to track us. That's how Dad went to the Langerhams. Think about it. He came pretty quick after you turned it on. So whenever I turned on the iPad, they knew where you were. So where else did you turn it on? I turned it on for a few minutes this morning when the train was leaving Pittsburgh, and again when we reached Philly. Okay, so now that we're downtown and we're in Philly, but the big problem is they also know we're moving north out of Philly. If they use Google Maps, they might even know we're on a train. They could know we're on this train. You think they go to all that trouble? Knowing Mom, the Marines are probably waiting at the next station. We need to stop leaving a trail. No iPad, no emails, no Zoom. And we've got to turn off our cell phones. The cops can track us. Seriously? Do you think they'd call the New Jersey police? This is Mom we're talking about. But even if she did call the police, there must be thousands of teens who run away every year. They can't wait at the train stations for all of them. Have you ever heard of private detectives? You think she'd do that? I repeat, this is Mom we're talking about. Sarah sighed. You're right. What are we going to do? I'm thinking. Well, think fast. Now we shift gears and we're going to meet a new character, new to the series, and he's going to play an important role in kind of making things more exciting for the story, not necessarily in a good way. Lester Armstrong, private investigator, was an imposing man, the size of a vending machine and mostly muscle. But it was his brains, not his brawn, that got him into the PI business. He'd been working as an underpaid baggage handler for a discount airline at the Newark airport when he happened upon a commotion at the lost baggage department. A very angry passenger was pounding on the counter, demanding to know what had happened to his suitcase, which contained jewelry belonging to his wife. The man wanted his suitcase back so badly he loudly offered $500 to the person who found it. Lester's ears perked up. He had bills to pay. He also had a knack for computers that he developed playing online poker, which is why he had bills to pay. But between flights, he logged into the baggage tracking system, and a half hour later, he managed to track the bag down 8,000 miles away in Mutare, Zimbabwe. The owner of the bag, whose name was Nestor Paola, was so grateful that he not only gave Lester the reward, but also offered him a job. Paola was a private investigator with a security company based in Chicago, and he needed a computer-savvy investigator. He figured Leonard's size might also come in handy, as Nestor himself was diminutive in stature, though powerful of mind. And so Lester left luggage to become Nestor's East Coast office, making more money than he'd ever made before. It turned out that his gift for finding things also worked with people. He became a master of the computer-aided search. Nobody could find a runaway teenager or spouse faster than Lester. He had a nationwide reputation, which is why the frantic Natalie Cooper began calling various hotlines looking for a way to track down her runaway children. Lester's name came up immediately. The Coopers hired Lester over the phone. He questioned them and quickly found out about Sarah's iPad, and within minutes, using the password supplied by Tom, he had tracked her to the Langerhams' house and sent Tom in pursuit. That hadn't worked, but Lester had picked up the iPad trail again, first in Pittsburgh and then in Philadelphia. He was soon speeding south in his Escalade, keeping one eye on the laptop computer in the passenger seat. He smiled when he picked up Sarah's iPad again, this time north of Philadelphia. "That's right," he said. "Come to Lester." He pulled off the road and with some quick keyboard work determined that the iPad was on a train. By noting where and when it stopped, and then making a quick call to Amtrak for the dispatcher who owed him a favor, he figured out which train they were on. Its next stop was in 11 minutes. The station was 13 miles from Lester. With a smile, he put his Escalade into gear. Now we go back to Aidan and Sarah. We've got to split up. Because they're looking for us, the two of us, together. Good point. You need to lose the hairdo. No way. If you're there looking for us, they'll have pictures, and in every picture, your hair's piled up like some kind of freak sculpture. It's my trademark. Whatever, lose it. You need to look a lot different because you're staying on the train. Wait, what? What are you doing? Getting off the train, remember? We're splitting up. But how are we Shh. I'll stick near a family so I don't stand out. I'll hang around. If the coast is clear, I'll get the next train to meet you in Princeton. We don't turn on our phones. We don't go online. Okay? Sarah looked unhappy. I guess so. The hair. Do I really? He handed her his baseball hat and pointed down the aisle. A minute later, Sarah was staring into the mirror in a cramped, smelly bathroom, taking a last look at her beloved hairstyle. She sighed and filled the tiny steel sink with water. Before she could think too much about it, she plunged her head in. She rinsed it, got rid of the stickiness, and then emptied the sink and kept going. I look like a wet dog, she said. She brushed her hair. She forgot how long it was, then twisted it into a bun and stuffed it beneath the baseball cap. She wiped off her mascara and her lipstick. She hated how she looked, but Aidan was right. She would be much harder to recognize. Much better, said Aidan. I hate you, she replied. That's the spirit. Okay, we're coming to the station. How are we going to meet in Princeton? First of all, you don't get to use the iPad. Go to a library or an internet cafe. Somewhere with public computers. I'll do the same. But can't they track our emails? Aidan grinned. I have a Gmail account Dad doesn't know about. Sarah laughed. You too? Give me that pen and paper. They exchanged emails and the train began to slow. A few passengers rose to their seats. You be careful, she said. Oh, I'm touched. Shut up. Keep your head down and I'll see you there. Aidan got off right behind a family with 3 kids, staying close, trying to look like the older brother. His eyes swept the platform. No cops. Then he corrected himself. No uniformed cops. Then he saw the man on the bench. A large man. A very large man. The man held a newspaper, but Aidan could tell he wasn't really reading it. His eyes, that looked like they were missing nothing, were sweeping the platform. They swept over Aidan, stopping for just a heartbeat. In that instant, Aidan's eyes were sure the man was coming after him. But the eyes moved on. He didn't recognize me, thought Aidan. Now we go back to Lester. Why was the boy alone, Lester wondered. He spotted Aidan easily. The sunglasses were a pathetic disguise. But where was the girl? She didn't get off the train. Lester had considered chasing the boy, but he was in no mood to test the boy's foot speed against his own. He put on a few pounds and has lost a step since his prime. He gave a casual glance at his watch, checked the platform to the left, and was convinced that the boy was alone. His plan had been to board the train, find the kids, haul them off to whatever stop next. Princeton, Newark if necessary, rent a car, call their parents, do the paperwork, and collect the check. But now the boy was off the train. Maybe the girl was still on the train. Maybe she was back in Pittsburgh. Lester had a rule about kids. You bring in the girl first. The world was harder for girls. But he had another rule, a bird in hand. The boy was right here. It seemed stupider to board the train and let the boy go free. Maybe the boy would lead him to the girl. Lester stood by the gap between platform and train door, using the reflection in a train window to watch the boy following the family towards the platform stairs. At the top of the stairs, the boy looked back and then started down. All aboard, called the conductor, leaning out of the next car, looking right at Lester. Lester turned and headed for the stairs. So this is a critical point in the book where a lot of our kind of villain characters make a critical error in judgment. And Lester makes kind of a very critical error in assuming that Sarah should be brought in first because she's a girl. That's not appropriate thinking. And by doing so, he actually is making a mistake in not being able to apprehend them sooner than he thought. Because I think what we have seen so far, Sarah is the more resilient of the two heroes, as most of our female characters have been in this book series. He uses an expression that says a bird in hand, and the rest of that expression is worth 2 in the bush, meaning you don't let go of something that you have to go after more of something that you're not sure that you will have. We have all sorts of sayings like this in our language. They're called idioms, and you don't take them literally, but they help you to kind of understand the situation. So he's torn between, he's got Aidan right there, but where is Sarah? And it's going to be this kind of error in judgment that's going to help them to hopefully stay away from Lester. Sarah thought the large man was staring at her. It was only when he turned that she realized he'd been using her window as a mirror to watch Aidan. As the man strode towards the stairs, she started to panic. The man was a cop. She felt her phone in her pocket but remembered her brother's warning. It was too late to get off the train now. Is something wrong? An older woman was leaning across the center aisle. Oh, well, my boyfriend got off the station and he forgot something. My phone's dead and I need to reach him somehow. You can have him paged? I can? Sure, you can use my phone. Are you sure? Of course. I can pay you for the calling information. I think I can afford it, said the woman. Directory assistants not only gave her the number, but dialed it for her. Hello, I'd like to page a Mr. Morgan Chatterley. It's urgent. She smiled at the nice lady, then turned away and cupped the phone. At first, Aidan did not believe his mother's maiden name was being announced over the train station PA system, but then he heard it again. Mr. Morgan Chatterley, please pick up the courtesy phone. Morgan Chatterley was his mother's maiden name. It was a family joke. She hated the name Morgan and insisted on being called Natalie since middle school. Aidan knew that the page could not possibly be a coincidence. It had to be Sarah. Or was it his parents? Some kind of trap? He started towards the courtesy phone, stopped. Finally, he went over and answered it. Hello? Is that you? Said Sarah, whispering. I told you not to use the phone. I'm not. I borrowed one. But what? Just listen. There's a guy. Big guy. He looks a little like Hulk Hogan. I saw him. He got on the train. Keep your head down like I told you. He didn't get on. He's watching you. He's following you. Aidan felt his stomach tighten. Are you sure? Get out of there now. The line went dead, and Aidan hung up, quickly looking around. He planned to hang out at the station until the next train, but that wouldn't work now. A few blocks to the right was a village where he could make out a Radio Shack and a Starbucks. We don't really have Radio Shacks anymore. They were a store that had like batteries and different electronics, but they've since gone out of business. There used to be one in the Summers Point shopping plaza right near where Acme was. The man was about 20 yards back behind him, and he didn't see in any particular hurry. And in fact, Sarah hadn't warned him. Aidan wouldn't have even thought he was suspicious. So he began walking faster and faster. A minute later, he glanced back, and the man was the same distance. Aidan picked up his pace even more. Stay calm, he said. Stay calm. Then he began running. 2 blocks at a dead sprint. He burst through the door and almost fainted. With a relief when he saw the customer standing at the counter was a police officer. His relief disappeared a second later when it occurred to him that if the big guy was a private investigator, and he surely was, then he would simply tell the police officer that Aidan was a runaway, and he'd be caught. He looked out the window, and the big man was getting closer. Still appeared to be in no hurry. Aidan looked back at the police officer, who was still at the counter, adding sugar to his coffee. The big man was 15 yards from the Starbucks. Aidan took a breath and stepped outside. He stood on the sidewalk waiting. The big man was 5 yards away. Hello, Aidan, said the big man, his voice in a deep rumble. Help, police! This man's hurting me! The big man stopped and held up his hand. Hold it. Help! Someone, please! Aidan fell to the ground. The door behind him burst open, and the officer looked down at Aidan and then the big man. Ow! Please make him stop! I didn't do anything, said the big man. The police officer said, Sir, please turn around and put your hands against the wall. Officer, I said turn around, said the police officer. This kid is The cop started patting the big man down. It took him 3 seconds to find the weapon on Lester. The big man said, Officer, this is a misunderstanding. Please keep quiet, sir. He radioed for backup, then unclipped some handcuffs. You're making a big mistake, said the big man. It's the kid you should be taking into custody. Oh, really? Said the police officer. Does he have a gun on him, too? No, but he got away. The officer turned around. The big man was right. Aidan was gone. So this ends our chapter, and with some quick thinking from both Sarah and Aidan, they're able to get away from Lester. But the authors have introduced Lester to heighten kind of the excitement of the book and to make things a little bit more exciting. They're not just on their own, but they're obviously being pursued, which makes it more exciting. If you're missing kind of the Starcatcher's connection in this chapter, it's understandable, but we're almost to the point where we really connect back with our original books. I think this is a point where the book starts to feel a little bit like not as connected, but trust me, the connections will be coming up very shortly, and we'll be back again tomorrow with Read Aloud.